Hi everybody, this is a video. We're going to be graphing one of these crazy shifted sine curves. Okay, and this is the kind of the thing I might ask you to do in a test. Right? I give you the equation right here, and I ask you to graph at least two periods of that equation, and here's the axes that I'll give you. Okay, let me scroll up here. You can see the axes. Okay, it's going to look just like that. Okay, so let's look at our equation. I want to try to fill in these things right here. Amplitude, period, phase shift, that's the horizontal shift, right, and the vertical shift. Okay, so let's go in order. The amplitude, that's the number that's going to show up right in front of the sign. Okay, we don't include the minus sign. The amplitude is just the positive number that's in front of the sign. So let's put that in. The amplitude is 2. Okay, back to the equation. Now, notice how we've got, I'm just doing the easiest stuff first, right? There's this plus 1, right, outside of the sign. That means it's a vertical shift, right? And it's a vertical shift of 1 up. You can also just write, if you want to just write plus 1 here, that's fine, as long as you remember that plus 1 means up for a vertical shift. Okay, how about the period? Okay, the period comes from the number in front of the x. Okay, remember what we do with that. Okay, the period is going to be 2 pi divided by the number in front of the x, which of course is 2. So the period is pi. Okay, so right from that equation, we know that this curve, however it is crazy shifted and everything up and down, left and right, it's going to repeat every pi unit along the x-axis. Every pi unit's along the x-axis. Okay, the phase shift is really the only tricky thing. That comes from this thing. Okay, and just be careful. If you have a number in front of the x, let's factor that out. I'm going to rewrite this thing. I can rewrite this as minus 2 sine. I can factor the 2 out of the parentheses, and look what happens. Okay. Factored out of 2, the pi turns into a pi over 2. There's the phase shift right there. Okay, remember, we're looking for something in parentheses like x minus something or x plus something. The fact that it's a plus, remember this kind of works like oppositeville. The left to right shifts, they're kind of opposite. It seems like that's a shift to the right, but that's actually a shift to the left. So the phase shift is pi over 2 left. Okay, so we've basically figured out all of the stuff we need to know. Okay, first thing we're ready to graph now. First thing we do is we're going to plot the basic curve, right, the unshifted curve, which is minus 2 sine of 2x. Okay, it has a period of pi, amplitude of 2, but for right now we're ignoring these phase shifts and vertical shifts. Okay, so you got to know your sine curve, obviously. Remember, this minus sign means it's going to be flipped vertically across the x-axis. Okay, so normally, let me draw a little curve here. Normally, sine looks like this, right? With a minus in front, this little minus right here, that's going to make this curve go down to start. Okay, you have to imagine this is like a little mini x-axis. There's a little mini x-axis. Okay, this little curve right here, that's what the regular sine looks like. Here's what the flipped version of the sine looks like. So this is the second one that I drew here is really what we want to do. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to plot these with little x's just so that we don't get confused with the points on the real curve. Okay, so we know that the sine always starts with 0, 0. There we go, right there. I guess I really need to label my tick marks here. We know the period is pi, So I always divide my period by 4, because there are 4 key points. All right, so let's call this pi over 4. Call this one pi over 2. 3 pi over 4. And pi. If I want to keep going, this is 5 pi over 4. Let's go to the left. So those are my little tick marks there. Okay, to the left we've got minus pi over 4, minus pi over 2, minus 3 pi over 4, minus pi, minus 5 pi over 4. There we go. And here's our ticks right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I really should have done this in some other color besides purple. Oh well. Okay. That's okay. What I'll do, I'll just make sure you can see these X marks. Okay. There we go. There's the first one. Now, the sine curve over here, right, the basic sine curve, I'm plotting minus 2 sine 2x. It's going to go down, up, down. It's going to start at 0. Okay, we know the amplitude is 2. Okay, so let me start plotting things. At pi over 4, we know it's going to be minus 2. At pi over 2, we know it's going to be 0. At 3 pi over 4, we know it's going to be up here at 2, and then back down to 0 right there. Okay. I'll make those a little heavier so you can see them. Okay, now let's go over on this side. You can kind of see the curve, right? If you kind of trace it, if you want, you can draw in the curve for yourself. As the other points, it goes up to 2 at minus pi over 4, back down to 0 at minus pi over 2, minus 2 at minus 3 pi over 4, and back to 0 at minus pi. I think that's good enough. And hopefully you can see the outline of your sine curve, right like this, right? Okay. Now we're ready for the phase shift and vertical shift. We want to take each one of these points. Okay, these are what I call the key points. Okay, we're going to shift them left by pi over 2 and up by 1. Okay, so I'm going to use a different color here. I don't know, how about light blue? Okay, which one should we start with? How about we start with the point way over here on the left? Okay, we're going to go minus pi, we're going to go pi over 2 left and up 1. Okay, so in this grid, that means 2 grid marks left and 1 grid mark up. There we go. Okay, now I just do that with all these little crosses. I'm going to go left 2, up 1. Okay, go here, left 2, up 1. There's another one, left 2, up 1. Every little purple X you should do left 2, up 1. Left 2, up 1. Left 2, up 1. Okay, left 2, up 1. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here, right? So for example, for this point right here, I go left 2, up 1, so I need a dot right there. There we go. And down here at this point, I go left 2, up 1, so I need a dot right there. Okay, and hopefully you can see the sine curve taking shape. Let's draw that baby in there. And I don't really care if you can draw this curve super accurately, but the points, those should be right where they're supposed to be. Okay? And I drew 2 periods. Right here it is starting. It goes down, up, back to where it starts, down, up, back to where it starts. That's 2 periods. There it is. That's our final graph. We're done.